All right, so are you ready to dive deep into Catch-22?
Oh, absolutely. This book is a wild ride.
It really is. And we've got Spark Notes, we've got a really good summary of the book, and we even have notes for a video summary of the book.
So much to work with.
So much to work with. But really, our goal is to just walk you through this hilarious, absurd, and kind of intricate story.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason, I think.
For sure, for sure. So let's just jump right into it.
All right.
So first of all, where and when are we?
So Heller throws us right into World War II, right into the middle of it, and the setting is the fictional island of Pianosa, which is off the coast of Italy.
Okay,
And this is where we meet our main man, Captain John Yossarian.
okay. And so who is this guy and what's he all about?
So Yossarian, he's a bombardier in the U.S. Air Force.
Okay.
And, they're flying all these dangerous bombing missions every day. They're facing death, and he's intelligent, he's resourceful, but he's increasingly cynical about the war and about the people in charge of him.
So he's our classic anti-hero.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, and I think at the heart of this whole book is the infamous Catch-22.
That's right. Yeah, Catch-22 is the rule that everyone talks about when they talk about this book.
Exactly. It's kind of become part of our everyday language.
For sure.
But can you remind us what exactly Catch-22 is?
So basically, the rule says that any airman who is crazy can be grounded.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, you shouldn't be flying a plane if you're not mentally sound.
Right, exactly. But the catch is if you ask to be grounded because you're afraid of dying. Well, that just proves that you're sane.
Oh, so you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Pretty much.
So how does Yossarian react to this, like, no-win situation he's in?
Well, he becomes completely obsessed with trying to get out of flying these missions.
I bet.
So he fakes illnesses. He tries to convince everyone he's crazy.
Oh, so, like, straight up just acting crazy.
Pretty much. And he pulls all these really outlandish stunts, too.
Okay, so, like, what kind of crazy stunts are we talking about?
Well, one of the things he does is he starts marching backwards during parades.
Like, just being a total goofball.
Yeah, and then he also starts showing up naked at official functions.
Like, totally naked.
Totally naked.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But this isn't just him, acting out for no reason.
So there's a method to the madness.
Yeah, it's all part of his rebellion against this whole absurd system.
So he's basically using his body to make a statement.
Right. He's saying, if you want crazy, I'll show you crazy.
That's amazing.
He's breaking all these social norms and defying expectations. And by doing that, he's trying to point out how senseless these rules are that they're forcing him to follow.
I love it. It's like a big middle finger to the whole system.
Exactly.
So we've got Yossarian, this like rebellious anti-hero, and now we need to talk about another major character,
Okay.
and that is Milo Minderbinder.
Milo.
So what can you tell us about this guy?
So Milo starts out as the squadron's mess officer, so he's responsible for feeding everyone.
Okay.
But then he kind of catches this entrepreneurial bug.
So he's ambitious.
Yeah, very ambitious. And he ends up creating this massive black market syndicate. Yeah, it's called M&M Enterprises.
That's amazing.
And he basically becomes this wartime wheeler dealer.
So instead of serving up, normal food, he's running like a whole business empire.
Pretty much, yeah. He starts trading goods all over Europe, making deals with everyone and anyone, even the enemy.
Okay, so he's not exactly loyal to his side.
Well, that's the thing. He really believes that he's doing it all for the good of the squadron.
Even though he's making deals with the enemy.
Yeah, but, his pursuit of profit, it always leads to these disastrous consequences.
Right, and I think our sources mentioned that at one point he actually bombs his own squadron.
It's true. He makes this deal with the Germans where he bombs his own base.
So he can make money.
So he can make money and fulfill a contract that he made with them.
So he's profiting from bombing his own men.
Yeah, it's insane.
That is wild.
It really is. But Heller presents it in this way that is simultaneously hilarious and disturbing.
I bet it.
It really forces us to question this whole notion of war and profit. Like, is Milo a villain? Is he just a shrewd businessman? Or is he just a product of this crazy environment where everything is upside down?
Yeah, you really don't know whether to love him or hate him.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about Yossarian, we've talked about Milo, but there is actually a little bit more to this story than just like the crazy antics and the business deals.
Right.
There are these little glimpses of love and loss amidst the chaos of war.
Yeah, for sure.
So can you talk about that a little bit?
So one of the most kind of touching subplots is about Yossarian's friend Nately,
Okay.
who falls head over heels in love with a Roman prostitute.
Wow, love in the time of war, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of a strange and tender relationship.
Yeah.
His love for her, it's pure and genuine, and it's such a stark contrast to all the cynicism and the craziness that's going on around them.
Yeah, it's that little bit of light in all the darkness.
Exactly, and they have all these deep conversations,
Yeah.
about life, death, sacrifice,
Yeah.
which kind of offers you a different perspective on the whole war situation.
So it humanizes everything a little bit.
It does, but unfortunately, Nately's story doesn't have a happy ending.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he ends up getting killed in action.
Oh, man. That's rough.
It is, and it's a real turning point for Yossarian.
I bet.
It pushes him even further into despair.
Right, because he's lost his friend?
Yeah, and it really strengthens his resolve to escape this war by any means necessary.
So the stakes are getting higher now.
They really are.
So what happens to Yossarian after this tragedy?
Well, he finds himself kind of wandering through the streets of Rome, witnessing firsthand all the horrors of war.
Which he didn't see from the air,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And this experience really just cements his disillusionment with the whole war effort.
He's seeing the real cost of war.
Exactly. He realizes it's not just about the bombing missions, it's about the innocent lives lost and the destruction and just the futility of it all.
Man, that's heavy. And so this obviously leads up to a major turning point in the book and a decision for Yossarian.
For sure.
What happens?
So Yossarian gets caught in Rome without a pass.
Oh.
Yeah, and he ends up getting arrested by his own superiors.
No way.
Yeah, so his commanding officers, they offer him what seems like a pretty good deal.
What's the deal?
So he can either face a court-martial for being AWOL, or he can be sent home
With an honorable discharge.
with an honorable discharge.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds too good to be true, right?
There's always a catch.
There is a catch.
So what is it?
So the catch is that in order to go home, Yossarian has to publicly support his commanding officer's policies
Which are...
to keep raising the number of missions required for the men to be sent home.
Oh, so basically she'd be selling out his fellow airmen in order to save himself.
Exactly.
So what does he do?
He refuses.
He refuses.
He refuses.
So he's not going to compromise his principles.
No, he won't betray his principles, and he won't put others in danger, even if it means staying in the war.
So he's taking a stand.
He is, and in fact, he makes an even more radical decision.
What's that?
He decides to desert.
He's going AWOL.
He's going to escape to neutral Sweden.
Wow, that's a big decision.
It's a desperate act, but it's also a powerful statement. He's rejecting Catch-22. He's rejecting these illogical rules, and he's rejecting the entire system that's trying to control him.
So he's choosing freedom even if it means risking everything.
Exactly.
Well, that is quite a cliffhanger.
It is. So Yossarian's escape to Sweden, it really makes you think, what does it even mean to rebel against a system as messed up as this one?
He's basically saying, like, screw your rules, I'm out of here.
Right, especially when the rules are designed to keep you trapped.
Exactly.
It's a really powerful statement, and it kind of makes you think about all the times in our own lives when we feel like we're stuck in situations that are illogical or unfair.
Oh, yeah, all the time, like dealing with paperwork at work or just like the crazy rules and regulations of like everyday life.
Right, those moments where you just feel like the system is designed to wear you down.
Totally.
So Yossarian's choice to just break free, it's almost inspiring.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you that you always have a choice.
You do, even if it means going against the grain and, facing the consequences.
So speaking of consequences, is Yossarian's escape to Sweden presented as like a total victory?
Well, Heller doesn't really give us a simple answer.
So there's some ambiguity there.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of ambiguity about what happens to him after he escapes.
So even though he's free from Catch-22, it's not like happily ever after?
No, not really. The novel acknowledges that there are real consequences to his actions.
I mean, it makes sense. It's not like real life problems just magically disappear.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that makes Catch-22 so powerful. It doesn't try to sugarcoat anything.
Yeah, it forces you to think about your own responsibility when you're faced with a system that's unjust or absurd.
Absolutely. It makes you ask yourself, what would I do in that situation?
And one of the things I love about Catch-22 is how Heller uses humor to tackle these really serious themes.
Oh, totally. His use of satire and dark humor is brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing how he can make you laugh out loud on one page and then, like, completely disturb you on the next.
It's true. It's like a roller coaster of emotions.
But the humor, it's not just there for laughs.
No, it has a deeper purpose.
What do you mean?
Well, it highlights the absurdity of the situations, It makes them even more jarring and thought-provoking.
Right. It's like the humor acts as a magnifying glass.
Exactly. It amplifies the absurdity and forces you to confront these really uncomfortable truths.
Okay, so we've talked about Yossarian's rebellion, the ambiguity of his escape, and the way Heller uses humor.
Yeah.
But what else should our listeners understand about Catch-22?
Well, I think it's important to remember that this novel isn't just about war.
Right, it has these broader themes that are still relevant today.
Exactly. It's about power. It's about bureaucracy. It's about how individuals can get trapped and dehumanized by the systems that are supposed to serve them
I mean, we see that happening all the time, right?
all the time. And that's why Catch-22 is still so relevant, even though it was written decades ago.
It's like a timeless commentary on the human condition.
Exactly.
So as we're wrapping up here, with Yossarian escaping to Sweden, it kind of leaves us with this mix of hope and uncertainty.
Right. It's hopeful because he's finally broken free, but we don't know what's going to happen to him.
Like, will he actually find peace and freedom? Or will he just face a whole new set of challenges?
We don't know, and I think that's intentional on Heller's part.
So he's leaving it up to us to imagine what happens next.
Yeah, he's inviting us to keep thinking about Yossarian's journey and the whole idea of rebellion and searching for freedom.
And it reminds us that life doesn't always have easy answers.
Nope. And that sometimes we're left with more questions than answers.
But that's part of what makes life interesting, right?
It is.
And it's definitely what makes Catch-22 such a powerful and thought-provoking book.
I totally agree.
Okay, so we've really gone deep, haven't we, with this Catch-22?
Yeah, I mean, we've laughed, we've cried, we've questioned everything.
We've explored this whole absurdity of war and, those crazy bureaucracies. And, we laughed with Yossarian's antics.
And questioned Milo Minderbinder's motives, for sure.
Definitely. And we've really grappled with these complicated themes of rebellion and survival.
Right. And through all of this, we have Heller's masterful use of satire and dark humor to keep us engaged.
He does such a good job with that.
It's amazing how he makes us laugh at these really terrible things and then forces us to confront some really uncomfortable truths about the world.
It's like walking a tightrope, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. But he pulls it off.
He does. He's a master.
And I think one of the really important things to remember about Catch-22 is that it's not just a history lesson.
Right.
It's not just about World War II.
About us.
It's about human nature and the systems that we create and how those systems can sometimes, turn against us.
And that's what makes it so timeless and relatable, isn't it?
Yeah. I think so. The situations might be specific to a war setting, but these underlying themes of power and bureaucracy and just individual struggle, they're universal.
I mean, think about how many times you've been in a Catch-22 situation in your own life.
Yeah. Have you ever been stuck in a situation where you're like, why are the rules like this? Why is this so difficult? It feels like they're designed to keep me from succeeding.
Oh, all the time. Like battling red tape or office politics or even just trying to figure out, how to do something simple.
And that's where I think the power of Yossarian's rebellion comes in, because it reminds us that we don't have to accept these situations.
We have a choice.
We do. We can question things. We can challenge the system. And ultimately, we can try to choose our own path.
It's a very hopeful message.
I think so.
So for our listeners who have been on this crazy journey with us through Catch-22, what would you say is the main takeaway?
Just remember Yossarian, remember his courage and his rebellious spirit and how determined he was to escape all the absurdity.
And remember that you have options.
You always have options, even when it feels like you don't. You can choose to play by the rules, or you can try to break free.
It might be scary.
It might be, but sometimes it's worth the risk.
So there you have it, our deep dive into Catch-22, this hilarious, thought-provoking, and ultimately deeply inspiring book.
Yeah, a book that challenges us to question the world and to really fight for our own sanity and freedom.
Even when it feels impossible.
Especially then.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive and it's given you a new appreciation for the brilliance of Catch-22.
And remember, if you're feeling trapped, think of Yossarian.
And choose to escape the catch.